Kalala Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash, and double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Barakatah. Today's lesson, the tribe of Gad shall overcome at the last. And here I have a June 8, 2026 article from RT.com that says Canada took our land and our lives. We deserve to have at least our names back. Restoring native place names is not an attack on Canada, but a modest act of truth, healing, and justice after generations of erasure. The article further says, the current debate in Canada over Indigenous rights, language revitalization, and the restoration of original place names, especially in British Columbia, is deeply rooted in historical truth, constitutional reality, and the lived experience of Indigenous peoples who have survived centuries of systemic efforts to erase our presence. Now, when it comes to you so-called Indigenous tribes of North America and of Canada, you are of the 12 tribes of Israel. You so-called Indigenous tribes of North America and of Canada, are Israelites. That's your true identity and culture that these nations have tried to erase in their efforts. You are of the tribe of Gad. That's why the scripture of Psalms 83:4 says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And when it comes to these nations, they have erased your true culture to a certain degree, because you still acknowledge yourselves as Chickasaws and as the Ihanktonwan Dakota Oyate, which are the so-called Yankton Sioux. The Sioux are also Israelites. And when it comes to you so-called Chickasaws, you have always had a strong spiritual connection with the Creator. That's been noted by the many missionaries who lived among them. That's documented. And look at what the first article says. From the Chickasaw Nation to Jerusalem. I mean, what other clues do you need? You are of the 12 tribes of Israel. You are Israelites. That's your true heritage and culture that these nations have tried to erase. And Psalms 83 gives you a list of those nations. That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. The article continues to say over 95% of British Columbia remains unceded territory, land that was never surrendered through treaty. When British Columbia joined Canada in 1871, the provincial government refused to recognize Aboriginal title or negotiate treaties across most of the province. This is a historical and constitutional fact. But in reality, modern-day Babylon the Great was never your rest. The article continues to say, after devastating epidemics of smallpox and other European diseases swept through our communities, colonial governments concluded that indigenous peoples have been so weakened that we could no longer mount effective resistance. Right, you were weakened by those disease blankets in which you received from them. Remember what John 10:10 says. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. And when it comes to you so-called Indigenous tribes of North America and of Canada, you are of the tribe of Gad. You are of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it is prophesied that the tribe of Gad shall overcome at the last. Let's begin with that scripture of Genesis 49:19. Here we have Genesis 49:19. GAD, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. The definition of the word troop, which is a noun, means a group of soldiers or a cavalry unit corresponding to an infantry company. Now the troop that shall overcome him is in reference to the U.S. cavalry during the so-called Indian Wars. The troop that overcame GAD is the troop of Andrew Jackson. He was the 7th president of the United States of 1827 to 1837 and the military governor of Florida. And when it came to Andrew Jackson, he was the go-to guy when it came to the removal or when it came to the extermination of the so-called Native American Indians. Something that you have forgotten. That's why he signed and authorized the Indian Removal Act in 1830, which drove out the Indians westward. That move allowed the U.S. government to possess more and more territory in the process, you see. Not only did the troop of Andrew Jackson go after the tribe of Gad upon American soil, but they also came upon the tribe of Reuben, which is the Seminole Indians. And that's why in 1817, the 5th President James Monroe ordered Andrew Jackson to fight the Seminole Indians, which is the tribe of Reuben, in order to seize the Spanish colony of La Florida. So the runaway Negro slaves could not find any refuge, you see? And never forget what they did unto the Tuskegee Airmen. They were given syphilis, men that fought for them to only be betrayed at the end, you see? Thus, over 100 million so-called Native American Indians were slaughtered and given diseases according to this Reddit article. And never forget what they have done unto the buffalo. Mountains of dead buffalo, carcasses, bones, all piled up into a mountain. But the scripture of Obadiah 1:15 has said, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head." As Elder Ramlab always says, upon thine own pate. But contrary to what many people have been taught to believe, the Spaniards are not the forefathers of the so-called Latinos in the Americas, Hispaniola, Mexico, etc. The Spaniards, according to the Bible, are Edomites, and they were the slave masters of the northern tribes, so-called Latinos of Israel. And they too had no pity, so they shall go into captivity as well. When it comes to the hopeful elect children of Gad in these last days, they hearken and devote themselves back to the commandments of the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, to the best of their ability. The so-called Native American Indians were almost exterminated through warfare due to the Civil War troops of America, and by their planned scheme of disease. Right, those blankets of disease. But it's just as the prophecy of Genesis 49:19 has said, the tribe of Gad shall overcome at the last, when the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, raises up the so-called North American Indians in that European American downfall. They also furnished a table for that troop. That's also a scripture in Isaiah 65:11. Let's go over to that scripture. Isaiah 65:11. But ye are they that forsake the Lord, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offering unto that number. Right, prepare a table for that troop, meaning the Thanksgiving Day table. The turkey is a symbol which represents the death of our so-called Native American brothers and sisters. And when it comes to those pagan celebrations, the Lord, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, Yahweh and Yahushai, hates all your worldly feast days. according to the scripture of Amos 5 and 21, especially that Thanksgiving Day feast day of massacre. And you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Tainos, and Native American Indians, you're not supposed to be celebrating any pagan holiday of the world, especially one that involved the massacre of your so-called brothers. Because you are 12 tribes, after all. At the last, the Lord, Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai, shall strip away the seat of power from among the European American rulers that have shown no mercy. And it shall be as such. According to the prophecy, the tribe of Gad shall overcome at the last, meaning that they shall have the last laugh. It was said that what happened unto the so-called Native American Indians was the inevitable plan of progress. But we are here to tell the nation of Esau Edom that their past crimes and overall actions committed are required by the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. That's why the scripture of Ecclesiastes 3 and 15 went on to say, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God, the Most High, required that which is past. Right. The Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai required that which is past. The Lord requires what has passed. Slavery is a thing of the past, and those genocide crimes committed are also a thing of the past that's required. Right, with yesterday itself being a day of the past, because we are yet to stay in captivity according to the scripture of Baruch 3 and 8. But as far as the tribe of Gad goes, they shall overcome at the last, meaning that they shall triumph over their enemies. They shall have the last laugh. But he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So the table shall be turned upon those enemies of true Israel, which consists of so-called Negroes, Latinos, Tainos, and Native American Indians. You are the 12 tribes of Israel. But with that being said, Ka'olah Malak Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rachak Wadash, and double honors to the elders of Jemas Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Brakta, Shalom.